Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Right Guys podcast. Oh my gosh, LA is burning and the war has begun. And now your hosts, Josh Hammerling and Max McGuire.
Welcome back, Right Guys podcast. Feels like it's been a while since we went live. That's my fault. I apologize to everyone. My kids are out of school and this completely threw off my schedule of them being at home. And then last week got thrown with a little bit of a curveball, which we'll talk about at the start. I flew into Denver to testify in Mike Lindell's My Pillow Guy lawsuit, where Eric Coomer is suing him for defamation. A lot I can't talk about because this is an ongoing trial, so I don't want to do anything that could derail that. I'm not going to criticize anyone directly. I will just say, though, that I flew in. I took a 5 a.m. I got the call at night. Hey, can you fly in? Okay, fine. Hop in on a 5 a.m. flight, which if you know me, if I get a call at 9 p.m. that I have to be on a flight at 5 a.m., I'm not going to sleep because if I go to sleep, I'll miss it. I'll miss the flight, right? Because at that point, I have to leave my house at 3 a.m., right? To get to the airport by 3:30. Get through security, it's 4, right? Because in San Antonio, you don't need to get to the airport 3 hours early. It's a very small airport. But like I'm crunching the numbers, saying I gotta pack. I'm not going to bed, so I didn't sleep. Flew all the way in.
Oof.
Get there, get changed, put a suit on, all dressed up, nowhere to go. Get there, and Eric Coomer's attorneys, even though I was on the witness list, I wasn't on the notice to appear list. Eric Coomer's attorneys assumed they would just have my deposition. And so they resisted letting me testify. And if anyone knows the rules of federal courts are always supposed to defer to in-person live testimony as opposed to deposition footage. Because in-person live testimony is always better. It's always better for the jury. It's better to have all of the information out there. And so you can have a cross-examination. You can have a rebuttal, right? Eric Coomer's attorneys were adamant that I not be allowed to testify. They said it was some kind of gamesmanship, that the idea of me being on the witness list and actually flying in to do it in person was gamesmanship. No, what seemed to be the gamesmanship was that they took a 7 hour deposition I gave, and they played a couple minutes out of context before the jury. And they cut it off on a cliffhanger to make it look really bad. But yeah, I found it very interesting because usually, as I said, federal rules say that they're supposed to defer to in-person testimony as opposed to deposition. And there's a couple ways that you can use deposition testimony instead. One of them is if a witness is unavailable, Josh. And for a witness one of the ways the witness is unavailable is if they live 100+ miles away from the courthouse. And it's presumed that they're unavailable. But it gets a little bit hazy when that witness also has business interests in Colorado, which I do. It's not like the idea of me going to Colorado is foreign and alien, never could possibly happen. They didn't even ask me weeks ago if they wanted to testify. Coomer's people just assumed that I was going to not be able to testify. So I showed up, wanted to testify in person, didn't allow me to testify. So I stood outside the courtroom, and I think I might hold the record, Josh, for being the closest to a federal district court and still being ruled unavailable.
He's unavailable. I'm right out.
Yeah, I'm not
available. Hallway.
I'm right here. Unavailable.
Unavailable,
God. Your Honor. He's unavailable. Another really interesting thing is that in this, I'm not going to go too far into the weeds because I realize that the deposition copy I have is the unredacted one, so I don't want to share anything I'm not allowed to share. But there was one part I could very faintly hear my own testimony through the door. And which, again, if they don't want that to happen, they should get better doors. I am 99% sure that they played footage of me saying something that after the fact, I submitted what's called an errata, a correction saying, actually, I gave an incorrect answer. This is the correct answer. Basically, they had asked me earlier in the deposition, do you consider Joe Altman to be an election security expert? And while he has a lot of opinions on that and he's done a lot of research on it, in the official definition of that term, he wouldn't be. He didn't go to college for computer programming, right? So I said no. Later, they asked me, do you consider yourself to be an election expert? And I was thinking about that previous answer. I said no, but then as I'm reading the transcript, I said, wait a minute, I have a master's degree in political science.
Poli-sci, yeah.
I am an election expert. I'm not an election security expert, but I am an election expert. So I said, hey, I gave an incorrect answer. Here's my correction. Gave that to them, gave that to my attorney to give to them. And they went ahead and played the original answer. That would be like if I was a medical doctor.
Interesting.
And someone asked me, hey, do you have a doctorate? And I said, no. And then I went home and said, oh, I thought you meant PhD. No, I do have a medical doctorate. I just don't have a PhD. That's what I meant. And then they marched into open court and they played a video of you declaring I am not a doctor. There'd be a problem with that because it's not, it wasn't the truth. I submitted that errata. So I got to chase down whether those errata were submitted. If not, that's going to be a really uncomfortable conversation I have with that attorney because I gave it to him well within the deadline.
Yeah. Fascinating.
Yeah. So that went on. And I also realized that they are, I mean, all lawyers do this, but it's particularly scummy when you realize Eric Coomer. I said on the podcast before, the grossest moment I think I've had in a long time is when I said I've never done a deposition before. And he looked over at me at my deposition and congratulated me for popping my cherry, which is a very unacceptable thing to say to someone.
Sophomoric at best. Yeah. Wow.
Realizing it, like, no, thank you. So I also believe he's a shapeshifter. I was telling that there, Eric Coomer. Every time I see him, he looks completely different. Every time. Really? Yes. Think back to all the pictures you've seen of him.
Yeah. Okay.
I guarantee you, if he walked in the door, you wouldn't recognize him.
Wouldn't you? I mean, he's been a lightning rod for
everything. He's gained a fair bit of weight. And he doesn't look the same at all.
That's wild.
But it happens. But his lawyers have I also have to figure out what am I going to do about the fact that the lawyers are misrepresenting my own comments.
Yeah.
I would say pretty flagrantly, considering the fact that they have the full deposition. Let me go ahead and share the screen. This was a motion. Oh, you got to unshare yours.
I've got to unshare mine. Why are you letting me do this stuff?
Unshare yours.
I'm trying to.
Unshare yours. And then
there it is. Yeah.
Okay. Can you see this?
Barely.
This was a something submitted by Coomer's attorneys. I believe this was their motion to try and pierce Joe Altman's reporter's privilege. If I have this correct, but it might be a different motion. In it, they said, quote, Altman's podcast co-host sworn testimony that he also suspected Camp, that's Joey Camp, someone I have no idea who the hell he is, to be the true origin of the story. And I read that and I said, did I say that? Because I remember explicitly them asking me, what do you know about Joey Camp? And me saying, I don't know anything. Everything I'd heard about him is what other people have sent to me. Turns out this is the actual deposition question and answer. They said, quote, I've asked you about this earlier. There's a reference to Joey Camp here on the call, and you've already kind of talked about that. Did you ever consider the possibility that it was actually Mr. Camp or someone else that was on the call, not Mr. Altman? Yes. You at least had that suspicion. Yes. Have you done any investigation to either confirm or deny that? No. So they asked me, did you ever consider the possibility that it was Camp or someone else? And I said yes. And then they submitted before the court that I gave sworn testimony that I suspected Camp to be the true origin of the story. You see how that's not the same thing?
Yeah, it's a twist of words.
That is not the same thing. And I tried to tell Mike Lindell's attorney and say, hey, they have misrepresented my words from the deposition. That should open the door to get me in. They didn't really want to push. The judge is already kind of giving them a hard time, it seems. So they really have to pick and choose what motions they want to put before the judge. But I now need to figure out, what do I do about this? Because my own words are being misrepresented in court and being misrepresented to make me look bad. I mean, they played a video in open court of me declaring that I'm not an election expert, even though I went back after the fact and said, actually, no, I misheard the question. I am. So I got to figure out what we're going to do with this. It's very interesting though that they're coming at this from the, we're the truth tellers, right? The other side lies and we tell the truth. And it took me all 5 minutes on the flight from Texas to Colorado to find that, they're just completely lying about what I'm saying. They asked me, do you ever consider the possibility that it could be this guy or someone else? I say yes. And they put in court documents, he swore under testimony that he also suspected Camp to be the true origin. That's not what I said. That's not what I said. It's close, but it's not what I said.
Yeah, and that only counts in hand grenades and nuclear war, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to comment too much on the case itself, but who else is going to notice? And I mean, if Pill Guy's lawyers don't care.
Yeah.
You know,
I was listening a little bit to Jovan Pulitzer's show today. Man, that guy. But he was talking about me, so I was like, okay, I'll listen. And he was insinuating that I'm like hiding something because I have an NDA with my company. And he says the NDA was after the call. No, I have an NDA every time I signed a contract. And every time I sign a contract, my NDA gets updated and expanded to encompass all the new things I was doing. So yeah, I signed a contract with Conservative Daily, that company, after the call, and I was under a new NDA. But he's trying to make it out like I'm redacting things and hiding things. I'm not in charge of any of the redactions. That's not my drama. Well, no, I am. I did request a few redactions, being my address and my cell phone numbers.
Sure. Yeah.
Like I asked that those be redacted because they really weren't material. But everything else is other parties. But it was very interesting having him because he's always so wrong. Also, I don't think he knows that you know Heidi Beadle. You're from Colorado.
Oh yeah, I'm fully aware.
Heidi Sean Beadle now goes by Heidi Beadle, but a biological man, born a man. Testified in open court. I believe testified in open court, if I remember correctly, that Jovan Pulitzer is one of the white supremacist like extremists that they were worried about. that were on Conservative Daily. So Jovan's covering this trial. I think he missed probably the thing that he should be most interested in, which is the fact that a witness identified him. I forgot the exact words that they used because they lump them together. White supremacist, fascist, extremists. They lump them all together, but found interesting. Yeah, no, he is not a looker. I don't know if you've ever seen Heidi Beadle in person.
Not in a long time. I would say no. I don't think I have. So,
I mean, I saw Heidi Beadle, and I just said to myself, "Yikes!" It was rough.
I remember them being a favorite of Joe's.
Oh yeah.
Either way, man, that whole thing is just kind of wild. The Pillow Guys. This is another person that is being sued by Coomer with all of the connections. It's just, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's why I really wanted to go out, because I think Mike Lindell means well. I said this in my deposition. I think that he doesn't always get the best advice from people around him.
Yeah.
It seems, but I think he genuinely means well. So I flew out because I wanted to help him. And Eric Coomer wouldn't let me. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. He should be on. I think he's either going on the stand today or tomorrow.
That'll be interesting to watch.
So this should be winding down pretty soon.
Yeah.
And the next one will ramp up. Then the next one.
5 years old now. This drama's been 5 years old.
Yeah.
You start thinking about how long this has been going on.
And the Lindell lawsuit was one of the later ones to get filed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. So it takes a long time. Takes a long time. So we'll see. I don't think I want to say too much else. If you have any questions, you can ask me.
Yeah.
But I don't want to say too much else because again, I don't want to hurt their case. I'm not sequestered or anything like that. Because again, they wouldn't let me testify. Just because I gave a deposition 3 years ago doesn't mean I can't talk about the case. But I want to be cognizant that it's possible if I were to say the wrong thing, I could hurt the case. But yeah, I flew into Colorado. I was like, "Hey, Josh, you around here?" Like, nope. I was like, oh, fun.
I'm gone. I'm out, yo. I'm out.
I figured if I flew in, at least I'd be able to see you. Nope. Josh out of town.
No, I was doing 30 straight hours of combat training and getting another certification, and I am exhausted.
You show me a video. Do we have that video of you getting?
No, I'm not going to. I'm not showing that one. I was kicked in the head by a world-class fighter, and that is no joke. At one of the best.
Was it like the full speed?
No, and that was a tap. Like
Yeah.
This
doesn't matter. I mean, the minute you get hit, you didn't fly, but yeah.
No, like I still feel the knot right here, and it was, and he apologized afterward. He said he didn't mean to do that.
I can see it.
Yeah. Oh my God, it hurts, man. Let me tell you,
the light catches it, and it's just a bump.
Oh, and it hurts.
Oh, yeah, right there. See it? See that glare? There it is.
And he apologized later, but even the world-class fighters, world-class teachers, the best MMA school in the country, people still make mistakes, and that's why you got to be careful when you train. But it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it, and only 3 more to go.
Let me ask you this: who did you tell I was testifying?
Nobody.
You didn't, because I got a text from Madison demanding that I call her. She wants to have a lunch chat.
I didn't send.
You didn't tell her?
That wasn't me. No, I didn't tell anybody.
I assumed it was you.
No. I would look inside your.
I assumed it was you
at that point. No, I don't. No, I haven't. Madison has been gone on a thing that she does, and I just remember getting a late night phone call like, "Oh, dude, I gotta go help the pillow guy." And I'm like, what
that's what I told. Man? That's what I told my 4-year-old. I said I have to go help the pillow man who loves Jesus, and he just said, "What?
What?
What?"
Hey, I remember saying, "Don't go do it. You never know." Like,
well, it's kind of a best of both worlds. Like, I mean, I went. I would have liked to testify, but I went and like I put the effort in to try and help.
Yeah.
And I didn't end up like incriminating myself or anything like that.
One thing
we'll see.
I was thinking to myself was like, well, maybe this really kind of sparks some more, and we get more viewers by having you going in.
No. We're not gonna say that. We're not gonna say it, because Eric Coomer's team is like adamantly arguing that in court. That
really?
It was all for the views. It was all for the views.
No, and it didn't. I told you not to go.
Well, in the record, I did not testify, so
that's good.
It was a bit by deposition I did, but big waste of time a little bit. So we'll see. We'll see. I suspect that the next time, because this is not the only one, I suspect the next time I will be asked in advance to testify in person, and I suspect that they will cross the T's and dot the I's on that paperwork, so that I will be able to. So we'll see.
But that time you'll be like, "No, I'm not doing it."
I'll do it. I'll do it.
No, I'm good. I'm out, y'all.
I'll do it. And this is what I told him. I said, "Listen, I gave that deposition 3 years ago. I gave that deposition less than 6 months, I believe, after I left Conservative Daily." I was very angry at Joe. I was very frustrated at Joe. And that definitely came out in the answers that I gave. And part of the reason I wanted to go is when I read my deposition, I was a little bit surprised at the way I was characterizing things. Not that I was saying things that were incorrect or anything like that, just surprised because I wouldn't have said that the same way now. Right? 3 years later, I didn't have the same frustration and anger today that I had back then. So if I given answers now, it would have been very different answers. The same underlying answers would have been true, false, like that kind of stuff. But in how I would have given those answers would have been a little bit different. I think that's true for everyone. I think everyone, I would be hard pressed to find someone who's the exact same person they were 3 years ago, who thought about everything the same way that they thought about them 3 years ago, which is, again, I think a little bit crazy to have me, a witness, at the door of the courthouse and saying, no, we're not going to let him testify in person right now. We're going to instead use how he felt 3 years ago. I mean, like that's. But listen, okay. The judge sided with them. The judge was siding with them a lot.
It's tough to be anybody that has been dealing with Coomer for 5 years now. So
yeah.
Oh, it's all coming to a head.
But I'll tell you, it was a little hard because I was so caught up in that. LA is burning. There's riots in LA. They're burning cars.
I was so deep into the training camp that I was in. I didn't even have time to read the news. Like, it was.
Oh no, we both weren't watching.
Fell asleep, got up, trained, and it was nonstop like that for 4 days. And finally, somebody during our training, the guy, it was with Todd Fosse, he's been on our show before. Yeah. He looks at everyone and he's like, does everybody see that LA's burning? Yeah. And I was like, what? And the next thing I know, and it's just not, Max, this isn't Americans out there losing their minds because they're pissed about something. You know, it's one thing if you're an American protester and you don't like something, you take to the streets, right? I don't condone the burning of the cars like we've seen, but it's another when you've got nationals from another country holding up their flag plus Palestinian flags, burning police cars, surrounding federal buildings, driving around in the streets on motorcycles, waving their flags, and to have Governor Newsom do nothing about it. Nothing with the big N. Nothing. Standing there watching LA burn, and somebody had to do something. Yeah. Somebody had to have the idea, the forthwith to say, hey, you know what? Maybe we should stop that. Maybe we should call the National Guard. And we all know that Trump did. And now it's been this nasty back and forth between the two.
Yeah. Well, he has, and we're showing some of these pictures. I'll pull this up. He called in the National Guard around 2000. And he called them in specifically to safeguard ICE agents and other federal agents who are out there doing their job. Yeah. And where I think that this really gets very complicated is that you have Los Angeles, a sanctuary city, saying we will not help you capture illegal aliens, right? And that's their position. I believe that deserves very strict scrutiny, but that's their position. The problem is that when they are that hands off, what happens when the mob starts assaulting and attacking the federal law enforcement agents doing their job? Would LAPD defending ICE be violating that rule, right? That we don't help enforce immigration law. Well, stopping the mob from killing the ICE agent could be argued that that's helping enforce immigration law because you're helping them do their job, which is crazy. It's mind blowing, but that is the argument. Yeah. And so there's a couple different ways. I can't get over these pictures too.
I know. I'm still looking at them on X. I'm watching the live updates and stuff. LA's burning, and it's just blowing my mind, man. And Newsom, is he being willfully allowing this destruction? Is that the play here? Because he hasn't done anything.
The play is that what they're saying is that the only reason this is happening is because Trump escalated, which isn't true. Donald Trump sent ICE agents in to enforce federal law. Every right to do that. They were attacked. LAPD did not come to their defense. And Trump basically said, F this, send in the National Guard. And so there is a law in the United States that blocks the military from performing law enforcement duties. It's called Posse Comitatus. Very old 1800s law. The U.S. government can't deploy active duty military to the streets to be law enforcement, right? There's police and then there's military, but there are exceptions. Exceptions being in times of war, in times of insurrection. And I'll go ahead and put this up on the screen. This is 10 USC section 252. Let me zoom in so people can see this. Can we all read that? 10 USC section 252. Whenever the president considers the unlawful obstructions, combinations, or assemblages or rebellion against the authority of the United States make it impracticable to enforce the laws of the United States in any state by the ordinary course of judicial proceedings, he may call into federal service such of the militia of any state and use such of the armed forces as he considers necessary to enforce those laws or to suppress the rebellion. So when you have federal ICE agents arresting an illegal alien and you have a mob of angry Mexican flag waving agitators throwing bricks at the ICE agents to stop them from doing their jobs, that qualifies, in my mind, reading this, as an unlawful obstruction against the authority of the United States that make it impracticable to enforce the laws of the United States. If the angry mob is attacking federal law enforcement under this statute, the president can federalize the California National Guard and deploy them as he considers necessary to enforce those laws that are being blocked from being enforced or to suppress the rebellion. He has yet, so he's basically used this to call them into action. The next step is going to be invoking the Insurrection Act, he'll have to. Now, there's an argument that you can do this without enforcing enacting the Insurrection Act, but like right now, they're only allowed to protect law enforcement.
Yeah. And the federal buildings, right?
If he wanted them to go door to door to track down these people, gotta invoke the Insurrection Act.
How is it that the left gets away with allowing cities to burn and they still get to label the right as the ones causing it when clearly they don't? This stuff is all happening because of Democrat policies under Joe Biden. This whole thing is a shit show because there was unfettered illegal immigration happening at the border and nobody did anything about it. And this is what you get.
Yes.
This is what you voted for, California.
Yes.
This is what you voted for, everyone that voted for Joe Biden. You get terrorists in the streets burning cars. You get people agreeing with it. You get people glamorizing it. You also start to embolden others, right? Because once one group sees this, the next group's going to say we can do this too. And let's not forget, it's 20 plus million people that have illegally invaded this country, right? This is only a few thousand people. What happens if they get 4% of those 20 million people to start an organized war?
There are a lot of ways Donald Trump can go after this. Like right here on the screen, these are videos of, there was an overpass over a highway, I believe a federal highway, but I might be mistaken, throwing rocks and bricks down at the police cars as they would drive through, lighting them on fire. That the federal government has an incentive, has a reason to want to stop agitators and mobs from throwing bricks onto federal highways or highways that have gotten any federal funding. Right? This comes from like interstate commerce, right? There's a lot of arguments to be made for why Donald Trump has every right to send in the National Guard to put this down. The left is, I want to play a clip from ABC News. And this one, I almost spit out my drink and I wasn't even drinking anything. Listen to how they characterize the riots as they're showing a video of a car engulfed in flames.
Group of people, it could turn very volatile if you move law enforcement in there in the wrong way and turn what is just a bunch of people having fun watching cars burn into a massive confrontation and altercation between officers and demonstrators.
So if you move law enforcement in the wrong way, you could escalate this beyond what the news called people just having fun watching cars burn. You might escalate it into confrontation.
It's all.
That's insane.
That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
That's insanity.
But Max, this is a full-on insurrection. I mean, January 6th, people were walking through the Capitol looking for bathrooms and staying behind the ropes, and they were deemed insurrectionists. There are people still in jail for that. And now we see pictures of nationals from another country burning down buildings, burning down cars, setting fire to police vehicles on federal highways. How's that not an insurrection?
Yeah. This is from End Wokeness. I follow him on Twitter. On the left, you have just what you just described, people walking through Statuary Hall, staying in between the velvet ropes. That's an insurrection. But on the right, you have someone waving a Mexican flag on top of a car. I don't know if that's a cop car or if that's one of those self-driving cars, waving the Mexican flag as another car burns in the background. I agree with you. How is the right on the right? That's mostly peaceful, but on the left was bona fide insurrection. I don't understand. I don't understand how that could be possible. And I think Donald Trump has a legitimate argument to be made that, hey, you're the one who said I need to squash insurrections. You're the one who said I didn't act fast enough last time. Well, guess what? Here comes the National Guard. I'm federalizing them. I'm not going to let Nancy Pelosi and the DC mayor block me from putting the National Guard in like they did in 2020. No, he's going to federalize the National Guard to make sure that federal agents are at the very least protected. They're going to have to do more. And you have a thing. Why don't you show it? Because let me stop sharing my screen. There's going to be a protest today in Denver. It looks like, right?
Well, in Aurora, Colorado. So one of the things that I was talking with some folks about was that this isn't isolated. I think this is a plan. I think within the next couple of months, we're going to see more of this. But what this has done in LA is it now begins to embolden the other groups that have been either in hiding or waiting out there. And today, Monday, June 9th at 4 p.m., they're going to be meeting at Park Lane in Aurora, so they can march in solidarity to protect the communities from ICE in LA. So the last time they had one of these walks, they ended up taking over parts of I-225, and people were almost ran over, and things went horribly wrong. Do we really think this is going to be a peaceful protest? Do we really think they're just going to be out there marching with their signs? I'm guessing today in Colorado, they're going to be setting cars on fire, breaking windows, and it just because it starts today doesn't mean it ends today too. How long does this continue to go on? You know, LA still hasn't been stopped. What's going on there is being allowed to continue by Gavin Newsom. Colorado is California light, if not California heavy now. Do we really think Governor Johnson's going to stop this? Or I'm sorry, Governor Polis is going to stop this? Do we really think he's going to make sure that the National Guard comes in? And I really don't think they want another situation to pop off, because now that means that Trump will more than be justified. He's already justified to call out the National Guard in California, but he'll be justified now if it happens in more than one place to start calling the National Guard in every place that needs it, right? And that would almost define that we're facing not just an insurrection, but an active war inside of our borders. And if that's the case, they better act, because if they don't act, the people will be forced to protect themselves.
Yeah.
And that's where they want it to go.
This is something that, I mean, you look at this picture. We'll put it up on the screen again. This man waving the Mexican flag in the background, in the foreground, it's a burning car. I mean, you look at this reminds you of like very famous iconography. You think of like the French Revolution. There are very famous paintings that look just like this. You think of like the musical Les Miserables. At the end of Act 1, end of Act 2, they're waving the flag, the French flag. This is something that you do. You don't show up to a protest with another country's flag innocently, right? I mean, this is significant, and I've been saying this for years. Like when they had the migrant caravans, people were climbing up the fence where the border fence in California, straddling the top of it and waving, I think it was the Honduras flag. I'm like, this is the behavior of a conquering army. This is not the behavior of someone who's walking in and a bona fide asylum seeker begging for help, begging for protection. This is what a conquering, invading army would do when they bust down the gate and cross the moat, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So in that context, when you see this, I don't think the left understands that this imagery is more than enough to argue that these are foreign actors committing violent acts on U.S. soil, that they have crossed into the country illegally, and they have committed violent acts in the United States against federal officers enforcing immigration law. Josh, remember one of the qualifications that Trump used for the Alien Enemies Act wasn't a declaration of war, but it was a violent incursion. Well, how else do you define an illegal alien crossing into the United States, burning cars, assaulting federal agents, and waving the flag of that country?
Yeah. And this is not just some spur of the moment people decided to just jump out in the streets and start burning stuff down. There were pallets of bricks brought in for this again. There were signs brought in. There were flags handed to people. There were ways to make fire handed to people. Yeah. This thing smells of organized. This thing smells of an op. This smells like a George Soros backed operation where they're simply just trying to destabilize, create a problem so they can create a solution to try to probably create new government, something that's not the United States, right? And to have it be taken over locally.
They want another summer of love. They want,
without a doubt,
they want, I mean, this is what you saw after George Floyd died, and it started locally and it spread out nationwide, right? They want another summer of love. And it is,
yes, they do.
It is essential that Donald Trump nip this in the bud, right?
It has
I get it. He doesn't want to cross the Rubicon. He doesn't want to declare the Insurrection Act. He wants to use that statutory power to basically rally the troops to protect immigration enforcement. But the minute that these riots interfere with the execution of federal immigration law, like this has stopped illegal aliens from being captured and deported. Absolutely. Right. You got to nip it in the bud, because we just saw that thing for Aurora, Colorado. They want to organize today. They're going to do that across the country, and they want to bring this so big that at that point you won't be able to stop it. Right now you have the evidence, more than enough evidence, that this is violent, that these are illegal alien foreign intruders who are doing this, and that they are actually assaulting, harming, and impeding federal law enforcement. All of the check boxes are checked off. Donald Trump can send the National Guard in. And it's not like it's a crazy thing that this has to happen. George H.W. Bush did it for the LA riots, right? This is something that has to happen from time to time, because the Democrats are both unable and but more importantly, unwilling to do anything about it, because they're egging it on. They're absolutely egging it on. I'm going to try and see if I can find more videos of them egging it on. But go ahead.
I'm starting to see, this spreading to high schools. This is going to be spreading to every facet of our lives. I was talking to a person this weekend, and they were saying that they had intelligence. This is going to go to 14 cities, and it's part of the plan. There's a plan to go into every capital inside of these large states inside these cities, or large cities inside these states, and they just want it to go and perpetuate.
Yeah,
they're looking for something. They want something to start happening in the streets. They want some sort of bloodshed to begin, and it's because they've got a plan in place, and I think it's full scale war, right? And I as far as I know, the president of Mexico has not toned down her rhetoric against the United States because of this.
Oh, the opposite. Do you see what she said today?
Not today, but I think it was yesterday or the day before, where she was essentially threatening the sovereignty of the United States,
encouraging people to resist. She said, and this is the translation, if necessary, we will mobilize because we don't want taxes on remittances sent by our fellow countrymen from the U.S. to Mexico. That's what she's afraid of. And for anyone who doesn't know, remittances, basically, those are illegal aliens in the United States working, earning money. And instead of putting that money into the U.S. economy, sending it to Mexico.
Yeah.
Mexico and other countries where there's large illegal alien communities in the United States receive a sizable portion. Like remittances from the United States make up a sizable percentage of their GDP. Like,
Wow.
wrap your head around that. I don't have my book. I don't have my book.
Which one? Which books do we have? Cha-ching,
Well, it's
cha-ching,
this one.
cha-ching.
Conservatives' Guide to Winning Every Immigration Argument. I don't know if I can find it really quick, but there was one country where they received so much from remittances that it would absolutely crash their economy. In the case of Mexico, even a 3.5%, some people are now arguing 15%, a 3.5% tax on remittances could crash their economy, because that basically means that if you want to send $100, say you have $100 to your name, I want to send it home. Okay, well, you can send it home, but it's going to cost $103.50.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't have that, so I'll send home less money, right? Cutting it by 3.5% could crash their economy.
So something also, someone's been posting here, there's a 40-degree difference between Compton and LA. And I know they're geographically kind of separated, but is it so hot in LA because there's fires burning, or is it just hot in LA and it's a perfect time to start
It's very
the
hot.
summer of love?
It's very hot,
and you know, when temperatures go up, people get grumpy as hell, man.
Yeah.
Like it's like a perfect storm of indoctrination, getting the message out, and the weather cooperating. And we all know what happens when the Santa Ana winds hit, and that they're setting fire to
That's the
parts
other
of
thing.
the forest next.
The idea that they are setting fires and they're just going to let that happen is crazy. But this isn't. I mean, there is a spontaneous thing about this of, oh, let's all go out, but there is organization behind it. And we don't know exactly who. I suspect it's probably linked to Soros. I wouldn't be surprised if there's U.S. government money funneling to some of these organizations that are funding it. But we do know that there was at least one user on X who was advocating for all of this, and that was LA Scanner. And this is something he posted yesterday to all the people that are saying ICE is just doing their jobs. The Gestapo and SS were also just doing their jobs. Keep that in mind. We now know who that is. It's this guy. We'll get to him in a second. But over the course of the last couple of days, this LA Scanner Twitter account, X account, has been posting the locations of federal agents, presumably so people could go attack them. Here's one they sent yesterday. 4406 Atlantic Ave in Long Beach, confirmed federal agent sighting. This was 5 minutes ago. I genuinely hope this doesn't end in anyone losing their life, but it's starting to feel like it might. So many federal agent sightings happening right now, posting this map. Hey guys, just a reminder, if you choose to protest any of these locations, please do so peacefully, yada, yada, yada. Encouraging people to report to him if you see federal agents. If you see federal agents in Los Angeles, DM us a photo and location. Let's keep Los Angeles safe. Do I have the one with did I share the one where it said where the ICE agents were, where their hotel was? Did I share that image?
No, I didn't see that one. We were mentioning that.
Let me grab that one just to make sure we have it.
So this LA Scanner guy seems like he's in the mix. He's certainly out there making things happen.
Here's one yesterday. Holiday Inn in Torrance at 19800 South Vermont, Torrance, California. Confirmed ICE agents are staying at this hotel. Now, I guarantee you they've left.
Yeah, they have to.
But what is the purpose of telling people where the ICE agents are laying their head? That is not to protest them.
No, it's to attack them.
That is to attack them.
Attack them in their sleep.
To attack them in their sleep. So this guy is he's saying that everyone's doxing him. Everyone's doxing him. Everyone's releasing his identity.
Yeah.
So that's not fair. I'm anonymous. Well,
Well,
the thing is, he doxed himself. He posted, if this account gets banned, you can stay updated by following my personal page, Jack
What?
Quillen TV.
Fantastic. He deserves everything he gets now. I mean, he posted it himself. So
Not even trying. It's the same basic picture with the same rainbow gradient on it. Award-winning photojournalist, LGBTQ plus activist based out of Houston, Texas. So he's operating LA Scanner out of Houston, Texas.
Texas. Wild. Well, he must have a lot of contacts in LA in order for that to happen.
He must. He's now saying, I recently discovered several posts containing my family's name and home addresses. This is unacceptable and violates our privacy. Yeah, I think he says I'm legally entitled to use deadly force in accordance with my state's laws. Ooh, well, I agree with him. I also think it's wrong to put the hotel addresses for ICE agents
On the internet for people during a protest. Also the timing of it. Like, why would you put it out at the height of these LA riots? Yeah. Right. I mean, do we start calling this LA riots part 2?
Also, interestingly enough, I saw this making the rounds. Now I can't be sure that this is the same exact person, but it does appear to be his same name. He pled guilty to, I believe, a felony. So he somehow either pled guilty or was convicted of a felony. Maybe they pled it down, but the idea that he has the right to use deadly force, I would have to see all of the charges and what he actually pled to before you could make a determination on that. But an interesting thing, as part of the plea agreement, not as part of the parole, probation, whatever it was, this was entered on 1/25/2025 from the County of Ventura in California. The defendant shall not own, possess, or have under custody or control any pager, beeper, police scanner, walkie-talkie, CB radio, or telephone monitoring device.
This is wild. You got to really screw up.
Yes.
For that.
The interesting thing, though, is it possible for someone to run at LA Scanner to be relaying information about police movements without being in possession of a device that would qualify as police scanner? Now, if he's in Houston, he wouldn't be in possession of it there. You can't reach it from Texas to California.
Yeah. But
if he was to pay for access to a scanner and to use it, he might have just, like, if you're under a court order not to possess a police scanner, it is wild to decide to then operate LA Scanner on Twitter. Like, even if you could argue that it's technically not a violation, it is wild to put your toe up to that line, right? That's crazy.
Yeah. It's low, when you sit there and you start posting where the ICE agents are staying. But not only is it low, it shows that you're part of the problem or you're part of the op that's going on. You know what I mean? Even if he wasn't, whoever's running this thing is betting on these kind of a-holes to show up to these sort of things. And I don't know, he kind of wrote his own if I was him, I'd get a lawyer. I'm just going to say that right now. I'd just go get myself a lawyer.
And here's the whole case. He was found guilty of felony stalking.
Felony stalking.
Now, the victim was vulnerable. That seemed to have been dismissed. But the idea that he's found guilty of felony stalking and he is now seems to be earning a living, though I can't prove that he was getting any money from this, but he is, at the very least, his hobby is to help violent agitators stalk law enforcement. I have to imagine that this is going to bite him in the ass.
It has to. I mean, it's wild. It's a wild world we're living in. And for every one of him that stops, there's another one to jump in. You know what I mean? This is so organized now. It's starting to blow my mind. And why would you want to run? Like, you knowingly have been banned from using these kinds of radios, and you want to set up a website out of state.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He
To
put
do
this
it.
out. He put this out today, yeah. Before he made this all private. I want to issue a formal apology. I should not have posted the location of ICE raids, and I will no longer do so. I've contacted the authorities to take responsibility, and they are currently reviewing my account to determine if any laws were broken. If it's found that I violated the law, I will cooperate fully and turn myself in. To those targeting my family, please, I'm begging you to stop. They've done nothing wrong and do not deserve to be dragged into this. The anger should be directed at me, not them. Someone has already come to my home, pounded on my door, and demanded to confront me. This has gone too far. To anyone I may have put at risk, I sincerely apologize. That was never my intention.
Oh, really?
That's obviously a nice little statement.
Yeah.
But the problem is you have these posts of him knowing exactly what he's doing.
Yeah.
That these ICE agents are the SS and the Gestapo, and that he was sharing where they were, not just for an academic exercise of I wonder where they are, so that people could confront them in a way that lots of people wish there could have been confrontations against the Gestapo and the SS, right? I mean, if he's saying you're the SS, okay, if you told someone years ago who had the ability to take action, hey, I know where the brown shirts are going to be. Do you think you would be telling them that so they could go and protest? Or so they could go and attack them, right? Because if federal agents truly are the Gestapo and the SS, they would round you up just for protesting, right? That's the part that doesn't make sense to me. If you believe federal agents are the Gestapo, you can't possibly argue that you're encouraging people to go peacefully protest.
Is there federal law out there that prevents a person from posting the known locations of federal employees or federal agents? Because I got to imagine that nobody's going to look on this lightly as time moves on. I'm sure the Trump administration will not just roll over on this kind of stuff, because this is the heart of the problem. This is the heart of the thing that's attacking America's interests when you put that information out. And if any one of those ICE agents were harmed during the time that he was posting those locations, has he committed a crime? And is he liable for their harm? So could he also be sued? He thinks he's just running some sort of really cool little website in his basement. What he's doing is he's harming the integrity of law enforcement in the United States. He's putting their lives at risk.
So the statutes dealing with obstruction of justice and interfering with law enforcement are deliberately very vague. It might be a stretch, but if he was sharing the location with the intent to impede or obstruct a law enforcement operation or to endanger those agents, right, it could fall under obstruction of justice or even assaulting, impeding a federal officer, because the law deals with assault and impeding in the same statute. The key is going to be intent, right? But considering that he's calling them Nazis, this isn't like, oh, well, I just like knowing where they are. No, he's telling people to go there.
He's actively attacked them on LA Scanner. He's showing malice to these agents as he's posting their location when he does this stuff. So, I mean, if I'm him, man, I would just get real low, real quiet, and keep my head down, because, the law enforcement is going to be on its way any moment. I'd be afraid I'd start getting that 2 a.m. knock. But the problem is that there's so much going on in the world. Everybody's just trying to figure out how to take care of LA. I'm sure he's low hanging fruit, unless Kash Patel thinks otherwise, which we don't know. The FBI could be heading out there now. I want to know is if anybody in LA has been using any of that wonderful surveillance equipment they've got in the streets to actually figure out who these people are that are at these rallies. I saw
one.
Yeah.
So one of the guys that they were looking for, he was wearing a very obscure baseball jersey.
Oh, really?
And so Laura Loomer shared this. Let me go ahead and share my screen. So, hey, Director Kash, Bongino, The man who threw rocks at federal agents in Los Angeles at the anti-ICE pro-legal alien rally is wearing a jersey from a small Hispanic baseball team called Nopaleros de Zacatecas, the Aztec Baseball League. I took screenshots of their Instagram page as well, and you can see one of the team members resembles the facial features of the attacker. So this is the attacker, and he's wearing that very obscure Aztec Baseball League jersey. And then you start looking here, it looks like it's this guy. Some people have said it looks like this guy. I think it looks more like this guy. Let's go to the picture again. He looks a little, it looks very similar. And again, this is an obscure, I don't think, the way I've been reading it, the people who would own one of these jerseys were on the team.
Well, all you got to do is find one person on that team and start asking questions. You know, do you know this guy? Have you seen this person? You know, it's very interesting. I didn't realize he was wearing a really unique baseball. Talk about the stupidest thing you could be wearing. Like, you should go. Yeah. I'm not going to give him ideas, but you shouldn't be wearing stuff that can be traced. Holy shit, you are dumb as a brick. But that's why he's out there.
I wonder, and I wonder whether his name is on the back.
That would be delicious. I mean, just talk about. I
haven't seen the pictures, but there's so many videos. I have to wonder whether his name is on the back.
Oh, I hope so. That would be pure awesome on a level that, I mean, his stupidity would be amazing. You want to talk about going down as like one of the dumbest ever? That's the way to do it.
And I am looking at pictures from the Aztec Baseball League. Let's go ahead and some teams have their names on it. Some teams only have their numbers on it. But like here, like, see this guy, he has his name on it. But even if he only had his number on the back, you could trace that to who wore that number, right? I mean, he's going to get caught. He's going to get effed.
The clock is ticking. Like, the clock is ticking. And that's what's happening. I didn't think that when I got back from this training, I was going to be having a conversation with you about how there's essentially an insurrection happening in California.
Yeah.
And how it's going to spread. I was kind of hoping the summer of love was just one summer.
They're going to try it. And it's up to Trump to not listen. The voices in his ear saying, do not invoke the Insurrection Act. No, that was one of the great mistakes of his first term, that he didn't invoke the Insurrection Act and he let this play out across the country. Shut it the hell down.
Yeah, do it now.
These aren't just peaceful protests. These are literal illegal alien non-Americans, foreign nationals, burning cars in the streets and waving a foreign nation's flag while that president is urging resistance, urging more resistance. Sometimes you have to take it for what it is. Sometimes it looks exactly like what it actually is.
And I got to imagine that there are intel agencies out there that should be giving him the right information, but we all know that the deep state has been trying to hide stuff from Trump. So my big worry is that he's getting bad information from bad actors. I hope Holman gets out there and starts getting on top of this stuff. But I feel like that this is going to turn into a national security issue. I have a feeling we're going to start seeing Palestinian protesters joining in on this. I have a feeling I'm going to start seeing protesters from other countries who have no relevance whatsoever to this out there just trying to cause hell. And they're going to want to destroy property. They want to attack the economy because that's all they can really do at this point. Lives and economies.
I don't have it in front of me now, but I saw it. The list of all the crimes that were committed by the illegal aliens that were rounded up that prompted this whole thing. And it's like crazy. Like, the idea that LA is burning to protect these people who did these things.
Yeah.
I think one of them was like a mass shooter. Yeah. It's let me see if I can find it.
This has got to end, man. This is something you don't get. You're not allowed to get wrong. And if you're Trump's team and you guys listen, like get it started. It needs to happen yesterday. If you don't have the Marines and your special black helicopter guys out there, then it's too late. And I got a feeling it's going to rise to the level of black helicopters having to operate now. I feel like there are terrorists, foreign adversaries, and bad actors that have completely infiltrated the United States, and this is the start of round one.
Benny Johnson just posted this minutes ago of a Marine helicopter flying low through the buildings in LA.
If that doesn't make you poop your pants, because if you know what those things can do, you better get that.
Well, they're not gonna shoot like missiles at them or anything.
No.
But the idea that they have full surveillance capabilities, right? Mm-hmm. Forget about drones. This guy's gonna hover over your house. But I've also seen them using these helicopters to move equipment, move munitions from place to place because they don't want to be caught in the open. That's wild. They've got to shut this down. They've got to bring California to heel. And every governor, every politician, every political figure who is in any way fomenting this have to be held accountable. They just have to.
Yeah.
I'll give you the final word as we wrap
Gavin Newsom. This isn't over. This is the start. I don't want to be one of those people that's doom and gloom, but ladies and gentlemen, this is the life and the soul of our country that is now on the table. Right? It's happening. The wars, and if we let them take over, they win. We'll be facing a non. Do not want what comes next.
Yeah, that's it for this edition. Everyone, hit the thumbs up button, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow us. As we want to grow the show, we're live on Rumble and YouTube, so check that out. We also have the audio edition of the podcast available everywhere audio podcasts are found. That's it for this edition. My name is Max McGuire.
I'm Josh Hammerling.
Remember, the fight to take back our country is not over yet, but the only way we win is if we all stand up and fight together. See you next time.